Welcome to the Southern Report. Thank you so much for giving me the privilege of your time. As you are aware, I had the privilege to go on a press tour to attend the Christian Media Summit in Jerusalem 2 weeks ago. Time is fastly disappearing. And as we know, there are so many events that are going on within Israel, within Jerusalem, and events move fast out there. And sometimes, as we know, sadly, those events are tragic. But the most important thing is to then speak to people on the ground to give us an insight into the reality of life there. And I'm going to bring on Gidon Ariel, and we will talk about that, and we will talk about the event that happened a couple of days ago at the Gush Etzion junction, and there sadly was a car ramming and a stabbing, and we will have that discussion. Gidot, good to see you, and thank you so much for joining me. And I just wondered if we could start, because you run a wonderful organization, and if you could just briefly tell us about your organization, and then we'll get into our discussion, sir.
I actually run an organization and a specific project that I started recently. The organization is called Root Source, and it is a platform for pro-Israel Christians and Jews to engage with each other, primarily by studying the concepts, ideas, and texts that we have in common. We have about 20 Jewish teachers, rabbis, and others who have recorded over 1,000 lessons online with topics such as women in the Bible, Jewish history, the land of Israel, introductory Hebrew, and over 50,000 Christians who have been subscribed to our free weekly newsletter. So I certainly encourage your listeners and viewers to subscribe to our newsletter. That's root-source.com. Recently, I've started a new project called We Must Not Forget. It is an opportunity to record and publish the life stories of 100 Holocaust survivors who've never published their story in English before. So we are planning on, we've already published one story like that, but with God's help, we will publish 100. And whoever saves one life story, it's as if they've saved the entire world. That is We Must Not Forget, and rootsource.com.
Brilliant. I will make sure that all of that information will be in the description below. I just want to talk to you the sad events that happened a couple of days ago, because we have a WhatsApp group, as you know, from the Christian Media Summit, and you made a comment to reach out to people on there, hence why we're having this discussion. And it's really important to then discuss the reality on the ground. And if I may say that sadly, the reality that, as you are fully aware, that Europe, including the UK, are also facing, and there are huge lessons to be learned. Could you talk about what happened, I think, on November on the 18th, because it is an area that you, as you said, that you frequently frequent. That is not far from where you are.
Yeah, so I was born in the United States, and I moved to Israel about 45 years ago. I got married in the late 90s, and we lived in Maale Hever, which is a Jewish city in about a half an hour northeast of Jerusalem. And about 11 years ago, we moved to the southern Hebron Hills, which is about 45 minutes south of Jerusalem. And on the way from Jerusalem to where I live, we pass by Gush Etzion. Gush means a block, so it's the Etzion block of about a dozen smaller and larger Jewish communities. And the Etzion Junction is where this terror attack occurred.
And There was one death, very sadly. Aaron Cohen died, 71-year-old. And there were other people that 2-3 other people that were injured. And what I understand with what I've read, that was initiated by a car ramming, and then the particular individuals that then did that, who were then taken out, then went and stabbed people.
Yes.
How do we stop this? How do we stop this?
Before we can stop this, Mark, we have to understand where it came from.
Yep.
The people of Israel, of course, as per the Bible and per very documented history, were living in their homeland, in the land of Israel, until they were brutally exiled about 2,000 years ago. Now, when I say they were exiled, that means the majority, but there has always been a remnant of the Jewish people living in the land of Israel, even for these past 2,000 years. No question about that. At the beginning of the Zionist movement, which was about 150 years ago, which was concurrent with nationalistic movements all over the world, the people of Israel, i.e., the Jewish people, decided that it's important for them to also return to their homeland. And the main areas of their homeland is what many people today call the West Bank. That is where Bethlehem and Bethel and Shechem and Hebron and of course Jerusalem, all of these places are the backbone, the spine of Israel. Israel is a small country, much smaller than the UK. And while Israel established itself through its independence war in 1948, this main section of Israel was left unliberated. And in 1967, there was the Six-Day War, when primarily Egypt and Syria attacked Israel from the south and from the north. But Israel was able to turn that around. Some of your viewers might have heard of the tremendous, miraculous victory that Israel had in the Six-Day War, because they were able to destroy the Egyptian and the Syrian air forces while they were still on the ground. But Jordan also got into the fray, and so Israel defended itself and attacked Jordan. And in the process, we basically conquered the entire West Bank. Initially, the Israeli government opened up in order to see if they could negotiate with Jordan, and said, "Listen, let's negotiate a peace." The Jordan, together with all the other Arab countries, said in the famous Khartoum conference, no to peace, no to Israel, no to normalization. So Israel, together with some of its citizens, said, we want to resettle the land. Especially Gush Etzion. There were, I don't have time to go into it right now, but there were Jewish communities in Gush Etzion, in the Etzion block, the area that we're talking about, that were overcome and conquered, and the people who lived there were murdered before 1948, in 1948 actually. So going back to these communities of Gush Etzion in 1967 was pure justice. There were 4 settlements, 4 communities, 4 kibbutzim in Gush Etzion at the time. And so the first thing that Israel did was resettle the kibbutzim of Gush Etzion. Similarly, in Hebron, where I live, Jews were living until 1929. A terrible pogrom happened. Over 60 people were murdered. And at the time, it was the British mandate, and the British said, listen, we can't guarantee your safety. So they required that all Jews move out of Hebron after living there for thousands of years. So it was really crazy. So right after the 1967 war, the Six-Day War, Jews came back to Gush Etzion and to Hebron and to other places in the West Bank. We won't discuss it so much. However, in this area, of Gush Etzion, and Hebron, there are many Arabs who still live here, and we try our best to give them the opportunity to live their lives. Tragically, Hamas and other terrorist organizations have embedded themselves within the civilian population of the Arab Palestinian cities around there, and unfortunately are also really indoctrinating the people around there. So what happened was 2 18-year-old Palestinians, one from Hebron, not far from where I live, the other from a hamlet called not El Arub, Beit Omar. They got into a car, took some kitchen knives, and decided to do what other terrorists have done in the past. That is, go to a bus stop where people are waiting for a bus and say, here's my chance, and ram their car into them on purpose. And that's what happened. This specific bus stop has seen other such and other kinds of terrorist attacks. And so they already have 4 IDF soldiers guarding the bus stop. As soon as they saw what was happening, one of the soldiers immediately went to neutralize these 2 terrorists who had managed to get out of their car and start stabbing some of the people who had already been knocked over on the ground. So it's not like they're chasing after somebody who knows who's coming after them. People who are already on the ground, they went to stab them to verify their deaths. Absolutely barbaric. And that is unfortunately what happened. One of the people who were standing there, his name was Aaron Cohen,
yes,
a longtime resident neighbor of mine. I personally didn't know him. He lived in Kiryat Arba, over 10,000 residents. But in our local WhatsApp group, people talked about him, and of course, he also got onto the news. And 2 or 3 other people there, high school kids, women, civilians who wouldn't hurt a fly. These terrorists think that it's the justified thing to do to attack civilians. And unfortunately, too many people in the world don't recognize how this is the worst kind of crime that you can do. What can I say?
What can I say other than the fact that you're absolutely right? And I'm just thinking of the awful events that we had on Yom Kippur in the synagogue in Manchester over here, and the MO and the modus of operandum is exactly the same. But I say it respectfully to you and many other people in Israel. I'm not here to give anyone a lesson. We know, sadly, that this is the reality of how these people then conduct themselves.
Mark, let me say that Israel, of course, the reason that the Israeli state exists at all, as I mentioned, is because of the Jewish people's tremendous history of their connection to this land, and the opportunity to start creating a national revenant movement to move back and to establish the state. It just happened to be, from a historical perspective, that this happened very soon after the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were killed because they lived in the diaspora. They were in all sorts of different lands, and they saw that that no one, when push comes to shove, would take care of them except themselves. And that was a big lesson learned from the Holocaust to the Zionist movement. And so the State of Israel was founded, together with the help of people who voted it, of countries that voted for it in the United Nations, which is at the time was much smaller. Today there's, I think, close to 200 nations. At the time there were, I think, either 33 or 50 or so nations there. 2/3 of the people voted on November 29th. We're coming up to the anniversary, November 29th, 1947. They voted that there could be two states in the land of Israel in British mandate, a Jewish state and an Arab state. And this, of course, is beyond the dozens of Arab states that exist all over the Middle East. But Israel was willing to accept that. The Arabs said absolutely not. No Jews allowed in this land, and they started attacking. So Israel waged its independence war starting then, and we succeeded in that. But ultimately, the fact that that Israel had established an Israeli defense forces means that we in Israel know how to deal with this terror, and it isn't foolproof, but we are able to defend ourselves. Unfortunately, the Jews of Manchester, of London, of New York, Los Angeles, Turkey, all over the world, who have not availed themselves to make Aliyah, to move to their homeland, they are at the defenses of whatever country or city they happen to live in. And while Great Britain has been friends with the Jewish people from time to time, now, unfortunately, it's getting worse. And frankly, I wouldn't want to be a Jew living in the UK today.
And I totally and utterly understand that. And on a personal level, we were on the march against anti-Semitism a couple of months ago.
Thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you for saying that. I think anyone of sound mind would be on that march. I mean, there were 70,000 people there, which was amazing, but frankly, it's not enough.
It's not enough. Listen, ordinarily at a demonstration, the idea is that the people who actually came represent 10 times as many, something like that. But unfortunately, I'm afraid, are more activists, let's use that term, on the other side, who hate Jews and would chuckle if one was murdered, and too many people in the middle that are watching all of the media, the social media and the mainstream media, who somehow are under the impression that it's okay to murder innocent Jews.
Absolutely, which of course it is not. And when we look at UK policy, particularly, let's refund UNRWA as soon as this present Labour Party comes in, and then we'll then push a two-state solution along with Albanese, Carney, and Macron et al. We're being run by utter lunatics who are extremely ill-informed and do not know history. But that's my personal humble opinion. And the other thing, Gidot, you raised this. It's not about me, but I just wanted to say this: that as I have worked in film and TV over here within the UK, and one of the privileges I had was to do a show in 2014, which was called Above and Beyond, produced by Nancy Spielberg, about the formation of the Israeli Air Force in 1948. It was quite a privilege to do that show and work on that. But history is something that, on a personal level, I'm very interested in. But we need to understand the history, where you have talked about events, talked about what had happened in from 1948, what had happened in 1967, and unbelievable, and the importance of that. Gidot, on another occasion, I would love to have a conversation with you about the Oslo Accords and giving a very, very firm historical lesson on that. And also, if I may say, without it sounding too controversial to some, when to discuss the annexation of Judah and Samaria, and to talk about around those issues, I would be delighted to do that with you.
And it would be my pleasure also to talk about it. First of all, I live here. As I said, I've been living here for close to 50 years. And I love living here. I feel like I'm in the eye of the storm. Some people, when it's raining outside, they run inside. Other people, they stay outside and say, this is so exhilarating. And in this case, it's the same thing. Some people say, I'd rather move to New Zealand. There, the headline is another sheep died. Okay. Here in Israel, you are really on the top of the news, and you are really where things are happening. And that's why it is my pleasure, Mark, to be a resource for you and for your listeners to find out what's really going on over here. And as I said before, while we were talking before the show, things happen every single minute. And it is my pleasure to share with you the important things that are happening here in Israel.
Thank you. And one of the real privileges I feel in being able to do that and to talk and to have the privilege to talk to others, because it's really, really important. I know you're up against time and you're busy, and I just want to thank you so much for joining me. And I look forward to further discussions with you. There's so much to talk about, because history is important and educating people is profoundly important, especially at this time.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I would just like to tell your listeners that I am very delighted to engage with anybody who's interested in engaging with me. You can find me. My name is Gidon Ariel. If you Google me, you'll find me, but it's easy to find me on my website, Root Source. That's root as in tree, source as in water. Best to look for that also by Google, because there's a dash in between. People don't always get that right. And you can contact me any way that you see. And I'm sure that if somebody isn't able to find me, first of all, you can certainly put my email address here, gidon@root-source.com. But I'm sure that they could contact me through you as well, Mark. And I'm looking forward to being in touch with everybody.
Thank you. And I will make sure all of that, without fail, will be in the description. I'm going to play us out. I'm wishing you the rest of a fantastic day, and I look forward to speaking to you again. But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.